How could a single night at a corporate gala destroy a 10-year marriage when I thought I was just having harmless fun? What happens when the man everyone mocked for being too quiet turns out to be the only one who documented everything, every insult, every witness, every public betrayal, while I laughed with the man who put his hands on me in front of our colleagues? Can a husband who never raised his voice or his fist still take everything away when he finally decides to speak through lawyers instead? Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I never thought the envelope would come. Not like that. Not in front of everyone. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start where it really began, or where I told myself it began. In my kitchen, on an ordinary Tuesday evening, when my husband asked me a simple question and I chose to make him feel small for asking it. The kitchen smelled like garlic and tomatoes. I was reheating leftover pasta, phone in one hand, stirring with the other. Owen stood in the doorway, still in his work clothes, grey slacks, blue button-down, the same tired expression he'd worn for months. He asked why I'd missed Iris's school concert. I didn't even look up. I told him the quarterly report ran late, that Declan needed my input before the morning review. Owen didn't say anything for a moment. Then he said he'd checked Instagram. He said I'd been tagged at a rooftop bar with the sales team. I felt my jaw tighten. I asked if he was tracking me now. Owen said no, it was a public post. I told him the report did run late. We just grabbed drinks after to decompress. That's what teams do. He asked if the report was really that urgent. I turned to face him then, wooden spoon in hand. I asked if he was seriously interrogating me about work. I told him he wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under, the way my division operates. I said, maybe if he showed a little ambition himself, he'd get it. His face didn't change. That was the thing about Owen. He never yelled, never pushed back. He just absorbed whatever I said and went quiet. From the doorway to the living room, I heard a small voice. Iris stood there in her purple pajamas, holding the concert program against her chest. She asked if I would come to the next one. I felt a prick of guilt, but I pushed it down. I smiled at her and said, of course. Baby, Mummy promises. Then I went back to stirring the pasta. I didn't write it in my calendar. I didn't even ask when the next concert was. Owen picked Iris up and carried her upstairs for her bedtime story. I ate my pasta standing at the counter, scrolling through the photos from the rooftop bar. In two of them, Declan's arm was around my waist. In another, I was leaning into his shoulder, laughing at something he'd said. The captions were full of fire emojis and comments like power duo and dream team. I liked every single one. 3 days later, I was at the office. Our building is all glass and open-plan desks, the kind of place where everyone can see everyone. I'd just finished a presentation review and was leaning over Declan's desk to check the final slide deck. My hand rested on his shoulder. I could feel the warmth of his skin through the fabric of his shirt. He tilted his head slightly, looking up at me, and I realized my face was only inches from his. I didn't move. Shula, one of the junior analysts, glanced over from her desk. She looked away quickly, but I saw her expression. Surprise, maybe disapproval. I didn't care. Martin, another co-worker, walked past and made a joke about the dream team being at it again. I laughed and said teamwork makes the dream work. Declan's hand brushed the small of my back as I straightened up. It was brief, casual, but it sent a small thrill through me. I didn't notice Owen at first. He was walking past the glass partition that separated our division from the IT wing. He was on his way to the server room, carrying a laptop. He stopped when he saw us. I watched his eyes move from my hand on Declan's shoulder to Declan's hand near my waist. Owen stood there for 5 seconds, maybe less. Then he kept walking. I told myself it didn't matter. It was just work, just colleagues being friendly. That evening, Owen asked about it. We were in the kitchen again. Our arguments always happened in the kitchen. He asked if Declan always touched me like that. I asked what he meant. Owen described it, the shoulder, the back. I rolled my eyes. I told him that's just how people work in sales. It's about energy, confidence, connection. I said he wouldn't understand because he's in IT, where everyone's terrified of HR and nobody knows how to build rapport. Owen said he didn't touch his female co-workers that way. I said that's because he's uptight. I told him he could learn a thing or two from people like Declan. People who know how to make others feel valued and seen. Owen asked if that's what Declan made me feel. Valued and seen. I told him to stop being paranoid. Then I asked if he'd picked up milk. He had. I changed the subject. He let me. That night, I found Owen sitting on the edge of our bed, scrolling through his phone. I came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around my hair, and asked what he was doing. He said nothing, just checking messages. But I saw the screen before he tilted it away. My Instagram profile, the photos from the rooftop bar. I got into bed and turned my back to him. I heard him set his phone on the nightstand. I heard him lie down. I felt the space between us, wider than the 6 inches of mattress. I didn't know he'd taken screenshots. I didn't know he'd opened a folder on his phone and labeled it household. I didn't know that quiet, passive Owen was starting to build something I wouldn't see coming. Saturday morning, Owen's mother came to watch the kids. Marianne is one of those women who notices everything. The way you hold your coffee cup, the tone you use with your children, the things you don't say. She asked Owen if everything was all right. Owen said they were fine, just busy with work. Marianne said I seemed distracted. Owen said I was up for a promotion. Marianne asked if that was all it was. Owen didn't answer. I came downstairs in my yoga pants and a jacket, keys in hand. I kissed Iris and Callum, told Marianne I was meeting a friend for brunch, and left before anyone could ask questions. As I pulled out of the driveway, I saw Marianne watching me through the kitchen window. She asked Owen if the friend was from work. Owen said yes. She asked if it was a man. Owen nodded. Marianne pressed her lips together, but didn't say anything else. I met Declan at a cafe downtown. We sat on the patio, close enough that our knees touched. He asked how Owen was handling things. I said Owen was being Owen. Quiet, withdrawn, a little cold. Declan said some men just aren't built for strong women. I agreed. I didn't notice Marianne's expression when I got home 3 hours later, my hair smelling like Declan's cologne. Monday morning, Declan announced that his team had hit their Q2 target. The whole division applauded. He high-fived me in front of everyone, his hand lingering on my hip just a second too long. Someone whistled. I beamed. Owen was in a fishbowl meeting room 10 feet away, visible through the glass. He was on a conference call, his face angled toward his laptop. But I knew he saw it. I knew because he opened a new document on his screen and started typing. He titled the document Timeline. He noted the date, the time, and the location. He wrote, Workplace, public display, hip contact, witnessed by 12 colleagues. I had no idea. That evening, Owen's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. The screen lit up. Private number. He picked it up, answered, listened, said thank you, and hung up. I asked who it was. Owen said a reminder about a dentist appointment. I asked which dentist calls from a blocked number. Owen said he didn't know. Maybe their office system. He said the appointment was in 3 weeks. I didn't believe him, but I didn't push. I had my own secrets. I figured Owen was entitled to his small mysteries. But when I glanced at his phone later, I saw a calendar entry. Downtown 3:45 p.m. No other details. No location name. No description. I thought about asking. I didn't. That night, Owen moved his phone to the guest room. He started sleeping with it locked and face down on the nightstand. When I asked why he wasn't charging it in the bedroom anymore, he said the sound of notifications was keeping him awake. I told him to put it on silent. He said he needed to be reachable in case of work emergencies. I didn't argue. I was texting Declan goodnight in the bathroom with the door closed. I didn't see Owen's expression as he lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling. I didn't see him add another entry to his timeline document. Galatea, bathroom, 23 minutes, door locked, phone light visible under the door. I didn't know he was counting. The company gala was held at a downtown hotel, the kind with vaulted ceilings and chandeliers that cost more than my car. I wore an emerald backless dress that Declan had complimented when I sent him a photo that morning. He'd replied with a fire emoji and the words, "You're going to stop the room." Owen wore a grey suit. We arrived separately. He drove himself after dropping the kids at Marianne's, and I came with the sales team in a hired car. We met at coat check. Owen said I looked nice. I said his tie was fine. We walked into the ballroom together but didn't hold hands. Declan appeared almost immediately, shaking Owen's hand, telling me I was stunning. Owen excused himself to get drinks. I stayed with Declan and the sales team. We stood near the bar, laughing about a pitch that had gone wrong last quarter. Declan refilled my wine twice. I leaned into his shoulder when I laughed. His arm went around my waist. Owen came back with 2 glasses of sparkling water. He handed one to me. I thanked him, but didn't step away from Declan. Owen stood beside me, silent. Declan asked if he was enjoying the party. Owen said it was fine. Declan said Owen should loosen up. This is the fun part of the job. Owen sipped his water and said nothing. By 9 o'clock, the DJ was playing pop remixes and the dance floor was packed. I pulled Declan out to dance. Owen stayed at a tall table near the edge of the room, watching. Declan's hands were on my hips. I threw my head back, laughing at something he whispered in my ear. The music was loud, the lights were low, and I felt electric. I felt seen. Across the room, Shula had her phone out, filming the crowd. She panned across the dance floor, caught me and Declan for 3 seconds, then lowered her camera. She saw Owen's face. She stopped recording. Martin approached Owen and asked if he was good. Owen nodded. Martin said he'd be pissed if his wife danced like that with another guy. Owen didn't respond. I didn't see any of it. I was too busy dancing. At 9:40, Declan led me to the VIP lounge area near the balcony doors. It was roped off, reserved for senior leadership. Declan had a badge that got us in. We sat on a leather sofa. He poured champagne. I was flushed, tipsy, giddy. Declan leaned in close and whispered that I was the most beautiful woman in the room. I closed my eyes and smiled. Then I felt his lips on my neck, just below my ear. Warm, soft, deliberate. I didn't pull away. I tilted my head slightly, letting it happen. The moment lasted 4 seconds. When I opened my eyes, Owen was standing 6 feet away, holding his empty glass. Our eyes met. I froze. Declan looked up, saw Owen, and smirked. He said, "Hey, man, just celebrating." Owen turned and walked toward the exit. I sat there, heart pounding, as Declan refilled his glass and asked if I wanted more champagne. I found Owen in the parking garage 20 minutes later. He was sitting in his car, engine off, staring at the steering wheel. I tapped on the window. He unlocked the door. I got in the passenger seat, breathless, and told him he was overreacting. Owen asked if that's what celebrating looks like. I said it was nothing. I said Declan's just affectionate. That's his personality. Owen asked if I was sleeping with him. I was offended. I asked how he could accuse me of that. Owen said he didn't accuse. He asked. I told him the question itself was an accusation. I told him he was making something out of nothing, ruining the night, embarrassing me in front of my colleagues. Owen started the car. He asked if I wanted to go home. I said yes. He drove us in silence. I stared out the window, furious. How dare he make me feel guilty for having fun, for being appreciated, for existing in a space where people actually valued me. Owen said nothing the entire drive. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. When we got home, Owen carried a pillow and blanket down the hall to the guest room. I followed, asking what he was doing. He said he was sleeping separately tonight. I said he was being childish. Owen said he needed space. I asked space for what? To sulk? To punish me? Owen closed the guest room door without answering. I heard the lock click. I stood in the hallway, furious and humiliated. Then I went back to the master bedroom and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Down the hall, Iris's door opened a crack. She peeked out, saw the empty hallway, and retreated back inside. The next morning, Iris knocked on the guest room door at 7. I heard her small voice from the hallway, asking Owen why he was sleeping in Grandma's bed. Owen said he'd had a headache and didn't want to wake Mommy. Iris asked if he was still sick. Owen said he was fine now. I stood at the top of the stairs, arms crossed, listening. Owen didn't know I was there. Or maybe he did. My phone buzzed. A group chat named Gala Highlights had 42 new messages. I opened it. Someone had posted a photo of me and Declan on the VIP sofa. His arm was around me. My head was tilted back, eyes closed. The angle made it look like more than it was, or maybe it made it look like exactly what it was. 3 colleagues had already reacted with heart-eye emojis. Martin had replied, "Damn, goals." Shula hadn't reacted at all. I stared at the photo. I thought about deleting it, but that would draw more attention. I thought about explaining it, but that would make me look defensive, so I did nothing. I liked the photo. I added a comment, "Best night ever." Then I went downstairs and made coffee like nothing was wrong. Owen came down 10 minutes later, kissed Iris and Callum, and left for a morning run. He didn't say a word to me. I told myself he'd get over it. Men always do. Saturday morning, I told Owen I was going to the farmer's market. He was in the garage, organizing boxes labeled household, utilities, and bank. I asked what he was doing. He said organizing paperwork. I asked why. He said it was time. I didn't ask time for what. I left. I didn't go to the farmer's market. I met Declan at a cafe on the riverside promenade. It was a beautiful morning, cool and sunny. Declan wore sunglasses and a running jacket. We sat on a bench outside, close enough that our knees touched. He asked how Owen was handling things. I said Owen was giving me the silent treatment. Declan said Owen was probably just intimidated by strong women. I agreed. Declan brushed my hair behind my ear. I leaned into his hand. A jogger passed, slowed, looked at us. I didn't recognize him. He kept running. What I didn't know, the jogger worked in the finance division of our company. He'd seen my face on the internal newsletter. 50 meters down the path, he stopped, pulled out his phone and texted a mutual colleague. "Just saw Galatea Marsh from marketing with that sales guy. Definitely not her husband." The text was forwarded 4 times by the end of the day. Monday afternoon, I arrived at Iris's school 5 minutes late. She was waiting with her teacher, Mrs. Kowalski. Mrs. Kowalski asked if she could have a quick word. I said I was in a rush. Mrs. Kowalski said Iris had been withdrawn in class. She said Iris asked if her parents were fighting. I laughed. I said kids have big imaginations. Mrs. Kowalski said Iris also drew a picture during free time, a house with 2 stick figures in separate rooms. I told her that's just how kids draw. Mrs. Kowalski suggested a follow-up meeting. I said I'd check my calendar. Behind us, another parent leaned toward her friend and whispered something. They both glanced at me. I pretended not to notice, but I noticed. That evening, Owen was in the kitchen cooking dinner. Iris was setting the table. Callum played with blocks in the corner. I dropped my bag and asked what was for dinner. Owen said pasta. I said I already ate. Owen asked where. I said I grabbed something after work. Owen asked if Declan was there. I froze. I asked if he was tracking me. Owen said someone from the company saw me. At the river. With Declan. I felt my face heat. I said so what? I'm allowed to have coffee. Owen said I lied about the farmer's market. I said I changed my plans. I said it's not a crime. Owen plated the pasta. Iris asked if Mommy was eating with them. I said no, I was going upstairs. Sunday afternoon, Marianne invited the whole family for lunch. I arrived late, blaming traffic. Owen and the kids were already there. My brother Trent and his wife Jessa were polite but distant. My father Raymond barely looked at me. Over lunch, Marianne asked how work was going. I said great, busy, exciting. Marianne asked if I was still working closely with that director. I asked which one. Marianne said the one from the gala. The table went silent. I felt my stomach twist. I said yes, Declan's my supervisor. Marianne asked if supervision usually includes kissing. I stood, face burning. I asked who told her that. Marianne said a friend from church saw a photo online. I called her judgmental. I called her a hypocrite. I grabbed my purse and left. Owen didn't follow me. In the parking lot, Trent caught up to me. He said I was being reckless. I told him to mind his own business. Trent said our father was ashamed. He said our mother wouldn't stop crying. I told him they don't understand modern relationships. Trent said Owen had been asking him questions, hypothetical questions, about financial accounts and custody arrangements. I laughed. I said Owen wouldn't dare. Trent said I was underestimating him. I got in my car and drove away. That evening, Owen was washing dishes. I stormed in and demanded to know what he'd said to Trent. Owen said they'd talked about the kids' college funds. I said Trent implied Owen was planning something. Owen said he's always planning. He said we have 2 children and a mortgage. I accused him of turning everyone against me. Owen said he hadn't said a word to anyone. He said half the company saw the photos. He said Marianne didn't need me to show her anything. It was already public. I screamed that he was humiliating me. Owen, voice calm and low, said, I did that myself. Owen's laptop was open on the kitchen table. I glanced at the screen. A spreadsheet with columns labeled date, location, witness, description. I couldn't see the rows before Owen minimized it. I asked what that was. Owen said budget tracking. I didn't believe him. That night, Owen locked his laptop in the guest room closet. The next day, I received an email from HR. Request for informal discussion, workplace climate, Tuesday 10:00 am. No further details. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. Tuesday morning, I sat in the HR conference room across from Claudia and Raj. Claudia was mid-50s, grey hair in a tight bun. Raj was early 40s, calm and measured. Claudia said they'd received informal feedback about workplace conduct. I asked what kind of feedback. Raj said concerns about displays of affection that may create discomfort among colleagues. I asked if someone complained. Claudia said they weren't naming individuals, but the gala and subsequent public sightings had raised questions about professional boundaries. I said Declan and I were just friends. Raj asked if friends typically engage in physical affection in the workplace. I said sales culture is different. I said it's about energy and connection. Claudia said the company values discretion. I asked if Owen filed a complaint. Claudia and Raj exchanged a glance. Raj said they couldn't discuss other employees. Claudia said this was a courtesy conversation, not disciplinary. Yet, I left, fuming. Back at my desk, I tried to act normal. Shula walked past the printer. I said hello. She nodded but didn't smile, took her documents, and walked away. Martin passed by, said, hey, kept walking. I opened my email. 3 colleagues had removed me from a group lunch thread. Declan was in a meeting with the VP of Sales. I texted him. HR called me in. Did they talk to you? No reply for 2 hours. When he finally responded, yes. No explanation. That evening, I went to the gym. In the locker room, 2 women were talking near the sinks. I was in the shower stall, hidden by the curtain. One of them said she'd heard about the gala drama. The other asked if it was true the guy was married too. The first one said yes, and his wife's a nurse. Super nice, doesn't deserve it. The other said she could never show her face at work if she were caught like that. They left. I sat on the bench, wrapped in a towel, staring at the tile floor. For the first time, I felt shame, but I pushed it down. Friday night was Owen's 37th birthday. Marianne organized dinner at a family restaurant with a private room. I arrived late. Owen sat between Iris and Marianne. Callum was in a high chair next to Owen. I sat at the far end of the table. Iris asked why Mommy wasn't sitting next to Daddy. I said there wasn't space. Iris asked why not. Marianne changed the subject. Halfway through dinner, the server brought a cake. Marianne led the singing. Owen blew out the candles. Leon, Owen's best friend, raised his glass. He said Owen was the best friend anyone could ask for. Loyal, patient, strong. Raymond nodded. Trent lifted his glass. I lifted mine too. Raymond didn't look at me. I asked if anyone was going to toast me for organizing the dinner. Marianne said she thought she'd organized it. I said I helped. Jessa quietly said, "Did you?" My face burned. Owen said it was fine. He was grateful everyone came. Iris asked if Daddy was happy. Owen said yes, very. Iris asked if Mommy was happy. I said of course. Iris said then, "Why don't you look happy?" I snapped at her to eat her vegetables. Callum started crying. Owen picked him up and soothed him. I excused myself to the bathroom. In the parking lot after dinner, I confronted my father near his car. I asked why he didn't toast me. Raymond said he doesn't toast people who break their vows. I said I haven't broken anything. Raymond asked if I thought he was stupid. I said Owen was poisoning everyone against me. Raymond said Owen hadn't said a word. He didn't have to. Raymond said my mother was heartbroken, my brother was embarrassed, and my children were scared. I said they weren't scared. They were fine. Raymond said if I believed that, I was lying to myself. He got in his car and left. I stood alone under the parking lot lights. At home, Owen was reading Iris a bedtime story. I stood in the doorway watching. Owen finished the chapter, kissed her goodnight, and walked past me without a word. I followed him to the guest room. I asked how long he was going to punish me. Owen said he wasn't punishing anyone. I asked when he was moving back upstairs. Owen said he wasn't. I asked if he was planning to leave. Owen said he was planning to protect his children. I asked what that meant. Owen said I'd find out soon enough. He closed the door. I heard the lock click. The next morning, I checked the mail. There was a thin envelope addressed to Owen, no return address, downtown postmark. I held it up to the light, couldn't see through it. I considered opening it, then heard Owen's footsteps. I put it on the counter. Owen opened it in front of me. A reminder card, appointment scheduled, 11:08. Downtown, bring ID. I asked what appointment. Owen said just a follow-up. He pocketed the card and left for work. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. An email from HR. Request for informal discussion, workplace climate, Tuesday 10:12 a.m. I stared at the subject line. Then I saw the attachment. Follow-up required. I didn't open it. Saturday morning, I woke to the sound of the garage door opening. I went downstairs in my robe. Owen was loading 3 boxes into his car. Household, utilities, bank. I ran down the driveway. I asked what he was doing. Owen said organizing paperwork. I asked why he was taking it out of the house. Owen said he was storing it somewhere secure. I asked where. Owen said that was handled. I demanded to see what was in the boxes. Owen said no. I stepped in front of the car. Owen said I was welcome to move. I asked if he was hiding money. Owen said every account was joint. I could check any time. I asked then why the secrecy. Owen said it wasn't secrecy. It was preparation. I asked for what. Owen said for handling things properly. He got in the car. I banged on the window. Owen backed out of the driveway and drove away. Later that week, I went to the pharmacy to pick up Callum's ear infection medication. The line was long. I stood there, scrolling through my phone. Declan hadn't texted in 3 days. Fiona, his wife, had posted a cryptic Instagram story. Trust is earned, not assumed. My stomach twisted. I looked up. Shula was 2 spots ahead in line. I tried to catch her eye. Shula looked at me, then looked away and stepped forward. I called her name. She pretended not to hear, collected her medication, and left. I felt a flush of humiliation. That evening, Owen made dinner. Iris did homework at the table. Callum was in his playpen. I asked if we could talk. Owen said he was busy. I said it would just take a minute. Owen flipped a chicken breast in the pan. He didn't look at me. I said I knew he was planning something. Owen said nothing. I said I deserved to know what was happening. Owen said I'd know when it was time. I asked if he was trying to scare me. Owen said he was trying to do the right thing. I asked what that meant. Owen said it meant protecting his kids. Iris looked up from her homework. Owen told her it was okay. Daddy was just talking. Iris went back to her work, but her pencil didn't move. I left the kitchen. The following week, I rode the metro home from work. The car was packed. I stood holding a pole. Across from me, a man in a suit reviewed documents. I saw a header. Custody Evaluation Guidelines. Overview. My heart pounded. The man wasn't Owen, wasn't anyone I knew. But the sight triggered panic. I got off 1 stop early and walked the rest of the way home. Friday night, I tried to put Callum to bed. He squirmed, cried, reached for Owen. I said Mommy could do it. Callum screamed. Owen came in and took him. Callum stopped crying immediately. I said he'd never done that before. Owen said kids sense tension. I said I wasn't tense. Owen said then it was something else. He carried Callum upstairs. I sat on the couch, alone. I opened Owen's laptop. It was logged out. I tried his password. It had been changed. I tried 3 more guesses. Locked out. I closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling. Late that night, I knocked on the guest room door. Owen didn't answer. I said I knew he was awake. Owen said he was reading. I said we needed to fix this. Owen said there was nothing to fix. I said I'd stop seeing Declan. Owen said it was too late. I asked what that meant. Owen said I made my choices. Now he was making his. I said he was being cruel. Owen said he was being clear. I asked if he was filing for divorce. Owen said he was handling it properly. I asked what properly meant. Owen said I'd see soon. I said if he did this, I'd fight. Owen said that was my right. I said I'd make sure everyone knew he was abandoning his family. Owen, voice calm and cold, said the record would speak for itself. The next morning, Owen's phone buzzed on the counter. A calendar alert. Monday 9:30 a.m. Confirm documents. I saw it before Owen picked it up. I asked what documents. Owen cancelled the alert. He said it was work-related. I said I didn't believe him. Owen said that was fine. He left the house. I tried to log into his email. Password changed. Cloud storage. Password changed. I was locked out of everything. Sunday afternoon, I met Declan in a parking garage. He said Fiona knew everything. Someone had sent her screenshots. He said he couldn't see me anymore. HR was watching. His marriage was on the line. I asked who told Fiona. Declan said he didn't know. It could have been anyone. Half the company saw the photos. He got in his car and drove away. I stood there, alone, realizing the net was tightening. Monday morning, I arrived at the office building at 8:47, the digital clock on my dashboard flickering like a bad omen as I pulled into the underground garage. The air down there was thick with exhaust and the faint metallic tang of rain-slicked concrete from the weekend storm. I grabbed my tote, slung it over my shoulder, and rode the elevator up, with a cluster of strangers who avoided eye contact, thumbs scrolling endlessly. Emerging into the lobby felt like stepping onto a stage mid-performance. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the marble floors polished to a treacherous sheen, employees swiping badges in a rhythmic beep, beep, beep that echoed like accusations. Visitors hunched over the sign-in desk, pens scratching, while two security guards, one burly with a mustache that curled like a question mark, the other younger and twitchy, scanned the crowd with practiced indifference. I needed caffeine to blunt the edges of another sleepless night. The coffee cart in the corner was a lifeline, its espresso machine hissing like an angry cat. The barista, a woman with a nose ring and a name tag reading jazz, took my order without looking up. Latte, oat milk, extra hot. I leaned against the counter, staring at the menu board to avoid the mirror behind it that would force me to confront my own hollow eyes. That's when Shula walked past. She was in her usual power suit, charcoal grey, hair pulled into a severe bun that made her look like she was always one step away from testifying in court. Our eyes met for a split second. She didn't say hello. No nod, no smile, just a flicker of something unreadable before she glided toward the elevators, her heels clicking like a countdown. Martin was in line behind me, his cologne a cloying cloud of sandalwood and regret. He cleared his throat, nodded curtly, the way men do when they pretend civility is enough. "Morning," he muttered, but it sounded like an afterthought. My phone buzzed in my pocket, vibrating against my thigh. I fished it out, an email from Declan. Subject, out of office, personal leave. The body was blank except for the auto-signature. My stomach twisted. Declan never took leave. Not for the flu, not for his mother's surgery last year. I stared at the screen until the words blurred, the barista's voice cutting through. "Galatea, your latte." She handed it over, foam swirling like storm clouds. I turned toward the elevators, clutching the cup like a shield, the heat seeping through the sleeve and burning my fingers. The lobby pulsed around me, conversations in hushed bursts, the ding of arriving cars, the scent of fresh pastries mingling with printer ink from the nearby copy station. A man in a grey suit approached, cutting through the crowd like a shark. Mid-40s, slicked back hair, tie knotted with military precision. He stopped right in front of me, blocking my path. "Galatea Marsh?" His voice was flat, professional, the kind that delivered bad news for a living. "Yes?" I said, my own voice smaller than I intended. "You've been served." He thrust a large manila envelope into my hands, the paper crisp and official, then pivoted and walked away without another word, melting into the sea of suits. I stood frozen, the envelope heavy as a brick. People were staring, subtle glances turning into outright gawks. A woman in red heels whispered to her companion. The security guard with the mustache tilted his head, eyebrow raised. Heat flooded my face. I looked down at the label, typed in bold sans serif. Family Court, petition for dissolution of marriage, temporary orders enclosed. My hands shook so violently I nearly dropped the latte. With trembling fingers, I tore it open right there, papers spilling like guts. The first page hit like a slap. Petitioner, Owen Marsh. Respondent, Galatea Marsh. Grounds, irreconcilable differences, adultery, documented. Adultery. The word screamed in black and white. I flipped through, 30 pages, color-coded tabs protruding like accusations. Custody schedule, temporary. Asset freeze, restraining provisions third-party contact, evidence index. Screenshots of texts, grainy but damning. Dates stamped in red, locations pinned on maps, witness statements notarized with flourish. Shula's name jumped out, her affidavit claiming she'd seen me with Declan in the parking garage after hours. Martin's too, detailing a flirtatious lunch at the deli across the street. The jogger from the park trail, the one who always waved, his statement about us lingering too long by the fountain. Even the kid's preschool teacher swearing to an inappropriate drop-off where Declan had waited in the car. Photos. Me and Declan at the company gala last month. his hand on my lower back, time-stamped 9:47 p.m. Another from the Riverside path, geotagged, my head thrown back in laughter. Text between us. Can't wait to see you tonight. Miss your touch. How did Owen get those? My phone was password protected. Declan's too. Had he hacked us? Hired someone? I looked up and the lobby had gone quiet. In that way crowds do when disaster strikes. 20 people, maybe more, frozen in a tableau of pity and schadenfreude. The mustache guard approached, his boots thudding. Ma'am, you okay? His voice was gentle, but it grated. I'm fine, I lied, my voice shaking like a leaf in wind. I shoved the papers back into the envelope, but my bag zipper caught, and the latte slipped from my grip. It hit the marble with a splat, coffee exploding in a brown arc, soaking the envelope's corner, dripping onto my shoes. The scent of scalded milk filled the air. Shula stood by the elevator bank, waiting with her arms crossed. She looked at me, really looked, then at Martin, who had sidled up beside her. He leaned in, whispered something I couldn't hear. Shula nodded slowly, her lips a thin line. My face burned hotter than the spilled coffee. Whispers rippled. That's Galatea from marketing. Heard her husband's a lawyer. Adultery. In the office. The elevator doors dinged open. Claudia from HR stepped out, clipboard in hand, her bob haircut, impeccable as always. She saw me, saw the mess, the wet envelope peeking from my bag like a guilty secret. Her expression was neutral, but her eyes held that knowing glint, the one that said she'd already filed the report. I couldn't breathe. I didn't get on the elevator. Instead, I turned and ran for the exit, pushing through the revolving doors into the grey morning light, the envelope clutched to my chest. In my car, parked crookedly in the garage's dim glow, I hyperventilated, the windows fogging with my panic. I locked the doors, reread the petition under the dome light. The custody schedule was a knife twist. Owen primary physical custody of the kids, our 8-year-old twins, Mia and Max. Me? Supervised visitation twice a week, pending a full hearing and psychological evaluation. Best interests of the children, it claimed, citing my ongoing affair as emotional neglect. The asset freeze locked every joint account, credit card, even the college funds, pending full disclosure and valuation. I couldn't buy groceries without begging. The restraining provision was vicious. Prohibited me from bringing Declan within 500 feet of any location where the children were present, including school, home, or extracurriculars. Violation meant contempt, possible jail. A footnote chilled me to the bone. Potential workplace ethics violations under Company Policy 4.2. HR had been contacted by Owen's attorney with preliminary evidence. Another footnote mentioned a separate notification sent to Fiona Rourke, Declan's wife, regarding alienation of affections, a tort claim that could sue me for breaking up their marriage. My phone rang, shrill in the silence. Mum's name on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. Trent, my brother, same. Unknown number. I answered, heart pounding. This is Rebecca Lang, counsel for Owen Marsh, confirming receipt of service. Next court date is 14 days from today. You should retain counsel immediately. Her voice was calm, efficient, like she did this every morning. I hung up without a word. Tried Owen's cell. Straight to voicemail, his recorded voice cheerful. You've reached Owen Marsh, leave a message. I tried again. Same. Texted frantically. How could you do this to me? To the kids? No reply. You're destroying our family. Nothing. I'll fight this. I'll prove you're lying about everything. 3 dots appeared, dancing mockingly. His reply, everything in the petition is documented and true. My attorney will communicate further. Do not contact me directly. Cease harassment or I'll seek a protective order. I screamed, a raw animal sound that echoed in the car. I pounded the steering wheel until my palm stung, tears streaming. The evidence index listed 43 items: emails, call logs, bank statements showing hotel charges, even a video clip from a traffic cam. I never saw him collect any of it. Owen, the man who'd forgotten our anniversary twice, but remembered every password I'd ever used. Had he been planning this for months? Years? I wiped my face, forced deep breaths. I couldn't hide forever. I had a presentation at 10, deadlines looming. I walked back toward the building entrance, legs like jelly, planning to go upstairs and act normal. Smile, nod, pretend the world hadn't imploded. Near the coffee cart, now mopped clean but still smelling of bleach, I saw Marianne and Leon standing close, talking quietly. Marianne, my supposed work friend from accounting, the one I'd confided in about Owen's late nights. Leon, her husband, who consulted for our firm. Marianne looked up, saw me approaching. Her expression was cold, lips pressed into a line that said everything. Leon put a protective hand on her shoulder, guiding her away. I realized they'd been there the whole time, witnessing the service, the spill, the meltdown. Marianne said nothing, just held my gaze for 5 agonizing seconds, her eyes filled with judgment, betrayal. Then she turned and walked away with Leon. Their steps synchronized. I understood. Owen had his people, loyal, informed, ready to testify. Shula, Martin, Marianne, Leon. A network I'd never noticed, threads pulled tight around me. I had no one. Not Declan, who was ghosting. Not my family, who I'd pushed away with lies. Not even myself, standing there in coffee-stained pants, envelope heavy in my bag, the lobby's eyes boring into my back as I finally stepped into the elevator alone. The doors closed, and I ascended toward whatever hell waited on the 23rd floor, the petition's words echoing, documented and true. My phone buzzed, an email from HR. Mandatory meeting, Tuesday 10 a.m., workplace conduct review, final. I knew what that meant. I looked at the office tower, at the people streaming in and out, living their normal mornings, my career, my marriage, my reputation. All of it ending in one manila envelope in a public lobby. I got back in my car and drove away. The petition sat on the passenger seat like a verdict. 2 weeks later, I sat on a bench outside courtroom 4C with a public defender I'd met an hour ago. Owen sat across the hall with his attorney and Marianne. Iris and Callum were with a social worker in a separate waiting room. The bailiff called our case. Inside, the judge reviewed the temporary orders. Owen's attorney presented the evidence file. Photos, texts, witness affidavits, timestamps. My defender argued I was a loving mother. This was a private matter. The judge interrupted. She said the conduct occurred in public and professional settings, involved a supervisor, created a hostile environment for the spouse, and demonstrated poor judgment regarding the children's exposure. Temporary orders upheld. Owen, primary custody. Me, supervised visitation on weekends, pending a full evaluation in 60 days. Asset freeze remained. Restraining provision stood. The judge added a note recommending parenting classes for me. Court adjourned. Owen walked out without looking at me. Marianne followed. I sat in the courtroom, alone, staring at my hands. The bailiff asked me to leave. Next case was starting. I stood, gathered my purse, walked into the hallway. Iris and Callum were gone, already in Owen's car, heading to Marianne's house. My phone was silent. No one was calling. I stood on the courthouse steps, watching Owen's car pull away. The autumn wind pulled at my coat. People walked past, other families, other cases, other lives continuing. I clutched the custody order in my hand, the ink still fresh. I never thought quiet, methodical Owen would be the one to end it all with paperwork. I never thought anyone was watching. I was wrong on both counts. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you're watching.